Welcome back to Exploring with Em and Stu.
And today we brought you back to Suffolk, and we are actually here at Kessingland, just south of Lowestoft, to take a look at the radar station just behind us. Unfortunately, we think this may be our last explore of this radar station, because I can see it's in quite a precarious position here. We've taken a few little explores in the past, but this time we want to take you for a really good look, just in case it is our last visit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame because it's starting to get undermined now. So I'm going to pass you over to Emma to do a little bit of history.
So the radar station we have here was built in the very early 1940s for use during World War II. And basically its job was to detect aircrafts coming over, of course, from France, Germany area, and being able to detect those aircrafts maybe 60 miles out before they reached us gave us a huge advantage, of course. They would have then communicated with the nearby gun batteries here that, of course, would, I suppose, shot them out of the sky before they reached us. There was two here in Lowestoft, this one here at Kessingland, as well as one just further up the coast at Hopton. But this is the only one that we believe we can actually get in and have a look. There's a few little structures sort of dotted around the area, but the first building we're going to take you into is the operations block, which is just through here. So we're going to take you for a little look. Here we have the largest of the structures, as I said, and this was actually the command post, which would have had, there's 3 rooms here. The smallest of the rooms, we're sort of guessing a little bit here because they would have had telephone, communication rooms. This could have possibly have been it. We've got some quite nice windows here with the actual shutters still in place, which you don't always see, so that's quite nice, as well as another one just over here. I'm assuming that there would have been things on the walls here. Like I said, possibly this was an actual communications part. It could have also been used just as a crew shelter, but we've got a larger room through here, and we're going to have a look in that one next. And the larger room here would have undoubtedly been the plotting room. Of course, when the radar equipment told them where these aircrafts were coming from, they would have needed to have plotted it ready to communicate with those gun batteries. So I imagine there would have been like a big table here, probably. Very likely women worked in these places, so I guess they'd have been all around some sort of table. But definitely this would have been the plotting room. There's another room through here where Stu is, so we're going to go and find him. So here he is. So this room, we think, probably would have been maybe just a bit of a crew shelter. It's got more windows in here, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has.
So,
it's a lot lighter in this one.
Yeah, maybe they needed a little bit more light. We've also got a bricked up doorway, which is just in front of us. Again, another way in, I suppose. But there's not really any evidence on the walls of anything really, any sort of few little wires and things you could see.
There's a couple of cable carriers throughout the whole building that I've noticed.
Yeah.
And obviously the floor would have had floorboards.
You can sort of see almost
the
actually,
old slats.
Where where it would have been probably wooden floorboards, I imagine. Bit of ventilation around. This wouldn't have been anything defensive really, other than the fact that it's built with reinforced concrete. Of course, they wanted it to be fairly strong.
Yeah.
We're not talking about any sort of guns or anything. This whole structure, this whole area, was purely about just radar, really.
That's right.
And picking up those aircraft.
But we have got a couple of interesting features around. I think we have an ablutions room, and I think we have 2 generator rooms that we need to look at.
Absolutely, which was something else we'll talk to you a little bit more about. Maybe explain what they were used for.
That's right.
So this particular radar station was actually known as a chain home low radar station. And its job would have been to detect particularly low-flying aircrafts. I mean, we already had radar stations for the higher ones, but the aircrafts were actually getting in below those. So we needed something to sort of detect those low-lying ones, like the mine layers. Of course, we didn't want the Germans laying mines out on the sea for us. And if you just look behind me here, the radar equipment was actually mounted right on the roof there. Not what you can actually see at the moment, because the radar equipment has long since been demolished and scrapped, but that's what this particular radar station was actually used for. Of course, this radar equipment, as well as the telephone rooms that I've had here, needed electric, and we're actually in really quite an isolated position here, so there would have been no mains electricity. And so this radar station, as well as most of them I suppose, would have had a type of diesel generator room. This particular one has in fact got 2. We think it's sort of a backup in case one of them obviously was out of action. And that's actually what this structure is just here. So here we have another reinforced concrete building. As I said, this is actually the generator room, and this is one of 3 ways to get into it. It's a little bit slippery, so I'm going to get you down there, and Stu and I are going to tell you a little bit about it. Here we are inside this very damp and muddy generator building, aren't we?
Yeah. It smells. I won't lie, it does smell.
Bit.
But this is actually really quite impressive. There's 2 of these. The other one's a little bit more difficult to get into. I'm probably not going to go and have a look, 'cause it's a lot of mud and sliding.
We may try, but we had an almighty downpour just before we got here,
Yeah.
so it's like a mud bath everywhere.
That's it. But I think we'll be able to take you a little bit of exploring here, because we need to do a bit of exploring. So
Yes.
here we go. Emma's got the light, and she's putting it on. So this is the generator room. So this is the generator plinth. Quite impressive, as you can see. It's absolutely got loads of water in here and being dripped on. But this is the plinth. It's quite a big generator, isn't it, Emma?
It is. Of course, this would have been a diesel generator that would have been mounted here. They are quite substantial generator plinths.
They're really big.
For what is not a massively big site.
But this is semi-sunken, isn't it?
It is. They were semi-sunken for protection, really. And if you just look around, we've got things like a little bit of ventilation that would have been up there, I would imagine.
Got some remnants up here. Let's have a quick look. Of electrics, so it would have had electric light in here powered by the diesel.
The electricity, of course, what was generated through these generators
Yeah.
would have been carried to the main radar structures onto the big gantries that would have been, because originally these radars were actually hand pulled.
Hand pulled, that's right, hand started
Yeah.
and everything, yeah.
And then a couple of years, or not even that, within a sort of a year, they were updated to ones that were sort of electrically powered, which
That's
obviously
it.
made life a lot easier.
But it does have ventilation, which is always a good safety aspect.
Absolutely.
Don't know where the diesel would have been stored though, because they wouldn't store it near the engine, so...
No, there's no evidence of where they were. Of
No.
course, there's not really an awful lot of evidence of other structures. There would have been more here
That's
at
it.
a time.
Oh, exactly. But there is another set of stairs round here.
We've actually got three
Okay.
ways in here, haven't
Yeah.
we? Which is unusual. We often come across generator rooms, but this one is seems to be a bit more substantial.
It does, yeah, I
Let's
think
go and
so.
have a look there.
But we have got an ablutions room on the way to the next
Yep,
generator room,
there's
and
one.
I think there is an ROC here as well.
Yes, which we've not even mentioned, and we may take a very quick look before we go. But
I don't think we're going to be getting down it though, because I remember last time it was flooded, so I
It's
think we have some decent
we
pictures of
certainly
it.
do have some previous footage from a previous visit here. But let's get out of this muddy old pit and take a look at something else.
Okay, let's go. Here we are at the ablutions hut, but Emma has a little bit of information about this because it's an uncertain ablution
Yeah,
room. Definitely ablution room though.
It's latrines. If you look on the internet, they'll tell you that this may not actually be World War II. It may be more to do with the Cold War structures that were later built here. We actually believe it probably is World War II, or certainly of that era.
I think the brickwork and the way that the concrete is and all that, it's pointing towards it, but as we know, and we've been pointed out wrong before, World War II structures did look like some Cold War places, so we don't know. We'll let you decide on that, I think.
And also there's not always a lot of information about these places. I mean, they didn't always keep records, did they?
No.
So we have to sort of guess and use our knowledge sometimes to make those educated guesses. But
Yes,
I'm
we
going to
do.
get in there. There's not a hell of a lot to see, but yeah, it's worth taking a look.
Okay.
So here we are inside these latrines. It's a little bit ruinous, this, compared to the other structures, but we can clearly see down here the different sort of sectionings where there would have very likely have been chemical toilets. This was the main way in, of course. I mean, I've had to climb through a window. That certainly wouldn't have been the way that they'd have done it back in the day. But other than a couple of little windows and a bit of ventilation, there's not really anything left, unfortunately. But again, like we said, we think this probably is Second World War. It's unusual to see quite a substantial toilet block like this at somewhere like this. But anyway, definitely worth having a little look.
Here we are at the next generator room. We obviously went to the one down there. This is going to be a bit more difficult to get into, and Emma is going to go down there and show you around a little bit.
We did say we weren't going to have a look, but I'm going to have a look. I can't help myself. So I'm going to have a look down there with you, hopefully, and Stu's going to stay up here.
So let's go, Emma.
So it's a bit of a muddy slide down here, but I'm going to give it a go just for you guys. So here I am inside the second generator hut. I've just come down there, which was rather slippery. And just behind me, like I said, we've got something pretty much identical to the other one. So I'll turn you around and give you a very quick tour. Like I was saying, here we are, identical to the other one. As you can see, we've got a large generator plinth there, which would have held another diesel generator. As I was saying, I think this was probably just a backup in case the other one there went offline. It was always best, especially with being in these isolated situations, to have a backup. And again, we've got those ventilation holes along there. We've got evidence of electrics. I imagine this probably was just for lights, but of course this would have been connected to the main radar site. We've also had, well, you can see there would have been a very large door on this. Whether that would have been wooden or maybe metal, not really sure, but that's of course long gone. And two entrances in. Again, I'm really not too sure why they had two entrances in. Of course, back in World War II, it wouldn't have been as overgrown. But these are much cleaner, these steps. Again, there you go, there's your big reinforced structure there with your ventilation. And just back down these steps, we've got another set of steps, much narrower than the other ones for some reason. But there we go. So that's inside the other generator room. I just thought I'd take you for a quick look. Of course, there's not really much else to see other than what we had in the other one. But I'm going to get out if I can and meet back up with Stu. Now, before we get back to Stu, I just wanted to take you for another little look at the operations block. As I was saying, it would have had aerials mounted high up on the roof. And originally there would have been two aerials, one for transmitting and one for receiving. But just a few months later, they actually combined them both. So there would have been a bit of a joint combined aerial on the top here. Like I said, it would have been high up. Some of these were sort of 200 feet high. I'm not too sure about this one, but it's just amazing to think what the landscape would have looked like with those huge aerial masts high up here on the coastline. So I think we've taken you for a look at most of the structures of this particular radar station. And there would have actually been 69 of these chain home low radar stations all along the coastline of Great Britain, which is incredible to think.
Absolutely, yeah,
really,
yeah,
isn't it?
It is. It's incredible.
Unfortunately, this one, although it opened in I think 1941, by the end of 1942, I think it was obsolete.
Obsolete.
With the main sort of production of radar being sort of taken down to Hopton, which of course had a much bigger facility, I assume. And yeah, this one I suppose was just sort of left redundant.
Yeah. It's quite amazing though. I think we've had a really good day here. We hope you've really enjoyed actually coming along with us on this one. But we have got one more little feature to show you. Nothing to do with World War II, but the war just after that. That never happened.
Yep, so let's have a little look. So although I said that this area was completely redundant after they stopped using this in 1942, it actually wasn't, because this area was chosen for an ROC monitoring post. 1,600 of them were built all over the country, and there's one just here, pretty much below my feet. So we'll take you for a little look at the small remnants of it. Just to my left here, we've got the ventilation shaft. This actually was a master post, because you can see the communication equipment sort of vaguely there in the undergrowth. We've done a few videos of these before. I'll link some below if you want a bit more information about them. But just over here is the actual shaft down to this underground bunker. And here we have it. This one has lost its hatch. We've actually been in it in the past. We do know it's very flooded. There's not much to see. I will put one or two photographs that we took of it back
we'll
then.
see. I'm just using my phone because we couldn't actually fit down it with the camera, so it's not great.
But yeah, Cold War as well as World War II. So this is actually quite an interesting site. Like I said, there's not much to see, but we thought it's worth taking a look in case you're ever in the area, stumble across this and wonder what it was.
So I think we're done here now.
Yep, this was the Chain Home Low radar station here at Kessingland. We've been here before, of course. If you've been following our channel, we've got a much more detailed video, which I'll put a link in description if you want to know a bit more about it. But this really was just to have a look to see if it was still here, really, more than anything.
Yeah, because obviously it's going to fall off the cliff at some point, and we really wanted to come and see it before it happens.
Yeah.
And our next visit will most probably be when it's down there all alone and we have to come and have a look.
To bits. Hopefully not, but unfortunately the erosion around this area is quite terrible.
Yeah, you can see it in the local newses from Hemsby and stuff like that this place is actually getting worse and worse.
Yeah, because these areas are really important and they helped us to win the war, inevitably. So we wanted to take you for a bit of a look. So we hope you've enjoyed it.
Well, if you have enjoyed the video, we have a Patreon that you might want to join. We also have Instagram, Facebook.
Yep, all of that. So if you want to join that and help us to be able to create a bit more, there's some exclusive videos on there. If not, for free, you can just give it a like and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything.
And it really does help our channel to push along.
Absolutely. So here from Kessingland in Suffolk.
And exploring with Em and Stu.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.